How much when you're out there exploring by yourself, how much do you have to worry about running into like loggers, like illegal loggers or
Okay.
like drug smugglers? Because I remember Paul Rosalie was explaining a story where he was canoeing down the Amazon River and he ran into like these dudes with a boatload of cocaine.
Mm-hmm.
And like they were like scoping him out and following him for a while.
So there's a lot of, oh dude, yeah, this is a great topic. There's a lot of that out there that I worry about. I have not been exposed to it thus far. But as over the next couple of years, I imagine I might see the remnants of that being out there. So illegal logging is huge in Guatemala. It's huge in southern Mexico. I think it's pretty big in the Yucatan. So there are giant trees. There's like ceiba trees that are in Central America. So ceiba tree is like the tree of life for the Maya people.
Right.
These are ancient, 1,000-year-old trees. But they're highly sought after, and not just that, just any kind of log is highly sought after. Mm-hmm. But it's not only that. You're looking at how much cartel activity is down there. There's a lot of cartel activity out there in the jungles. They've got their own compounds. Mm-hmm. So look, I found this in the Lacandon jungle as well. So this is an airstrip that I found that is not, that doesn't.
I love how you can just basically look at Mexico and zoom into exactly these little obscure like details in like the split second. You have this whole like country and you have all of South America perfectly mapped in your brain. It's really incredible.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm just I'm like absolutely obsessed with it. I
can tell.
It's in my videos, it's all I try to stay like I try to approach it with a lot of humility, like I'm an educator and everything. But this is a personal journey as well. I'm trying to like build a life that's around the things that I love, mm-hmm. and do some things that are memorable and discover things that'll last way beyond my lifetime. So that takes a while. I want to build something that brings in some funds to be able to go on expeditions and do things that are bigger than myself, and not something just to like glorify myself, but something to bring some kind of understanding to the world, to other people. And the jungles of Central and South America are a frontier that's still accessible. Like the age of exploration is not over. I mean, I can prove it a dozen times over. But this is one of the dangers that I could run into. So these maps aren't really updated. I've been looking at this for 3 or 4 years, and I've never seen it change on Google Earth. So
when was this last image? Like, can you see like what year this satellite image was taken?
No.
Okay.
Okay. Well, no, I can. Is this 2020? April 11th, 2020?
Yep. Okay.
So that's interesting. They actually updated that. I haven't looked at that in years. So in the last 3 years, I was thinking I haven't seen this since 2019, but in 2019, this was still there. But I haven't really seen this change. So this is an airstrip that's out there. But what's weird is there's no roads leading to it. So I was like, what do they do? Do they go down the river? So you start following the river. Oh, what do you come across? Drug compounds, cocaine. They're manufacturing cocaine, marijuana out here. So there's all this kind of stuff that's going on. Now, what's interesting is this might be an older operation because drug runners in the jungles now have created airstrips that have canopies. Yes. So there's like one little opening where you fly in, but they like carve out a hollow tunnel of trees. So somebody flies in and they land underneath the treetops,
so
and they
satellites
fly out
can't find the
underneath
airstrips.
Yeah, and so
that's fucking nuts.
So we go to these photos. I have some photos. Let's see, Lacandon jungle. Yeah, so here are some. These are some drug planes that just get abandoned. So if these places get busted, they just drive out or they walk out of the jungle and they leave the planes behind. So here's one that I guess crashed into the jungle because there's no airstrip around it. But if you look long enough, like I was just kind of going through Google Earth for a second yesterday, or Reddit for a second yesterday, and there are other people who find planes in the jungles on Google Earth of Central America, in the Amazon. Also refugees, like two other types of people that could be a danger. So Guatemala has a lot of like political civil unrest. I think recently they had like a civil war, or they had a falling out of their government. I'm not up to date on my Guatemala politics, but I know that there are refugees that are living out in the jungles, and they live underneath the treetops so that they can't be seen. They build little villages under the treetops, and some gringo guy goes out there, and they don't want me to be there, and they don't want any risk of me leaving and telling people about it. They kill me.
Right.
Or I go out to, might be more common in Guatemala, which is why I'm not really looking to explore Guatemala yet. Maybe, I don't know, like 10 years from now when I'm more affiliated and I can take like a full-on armed expedition with me.
Right.
But in Guatemala, there are the drug runners and the I guess drug runners, they excavate sites as well to sell artifacts on the black market. So you go find a lost city. This happens in western Belize near Guatemala as well. There are like black market looters that will come over from Guatemala, and they will have machine guns, and they will kill tourists and archaeologists who go out to these most remote sites in Belize. They will kill them and loot everything. So like at a temple in the middle of the jungle, for whatever reason, I don't know the geological explanation behind it, but at the corners of buildings, the way that the soil deposition or disposition works is that artifacts will drift to the corners of buildings and sink. So you go to a corner of a building and you start digging down, that's where you're going to hit artifacts. That's how looters know where to look. It's just like one of the tricks of the trade. And I remember studying it more at the beginning of my degree, but it's a simple explanation, but basically that's the gist of it.
That's got to be a huge source of revenue for the cartels.
Man, it's got to be. The guys who...
You know what? Now that you mentioned it, I remember Luis Chaparro telling me that happens.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and now, I can't get into it too much because I go down there, but now, the cartels and the organizations that oversee Maya archaeology and projects, it's the same people. It's exactly the same people. It used to be separated. Now it's just the same. And they, I shouldn't say where they live. I know where they live. I know the city that it all comes out of. And like everybody knows the city as well. So it's nuts, man. So they're basically lawless at this point. So they're selling artifacts on the black market all across the planet. I mean, dude, this happens in Egypt. Like Zahi Hawass, I'll talk bad about him. I don't care. Yeah. He's a horrible person. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
He's a terrible person, dude. It's extremely speculated that he would oversee archaeological projects, and he would have his own guys that would do it, that are all bought out, and he would take the finest relics and artifacts that would come out of these digs and sell them on the black market. That's largely why he lost his job as like the president of the Ministry of Antiquities.
He's no longer the president?
I don't think so. I think he lost his job. I think. I'm not an expert on his life, but
Ben was telling me that there was like some sort of like secret expedition they were doing underneath the Sphinx.
Yeah.
In like a big temple that was under there, that it was completely like black, like nobody knew about it. It was done in secret.